We will be having both captains join us, excuse me. Gentlemen, welcome. We've got Change back. I see you've still got your new uniform on. Lost, welcome to the show. I'm going to start with Lost today. On the question of the day, what Lost is your spirit animal?
I was going to do praying mantis because of two aspects. They have like the aggressive and passive mentality. It also, after 3 games of playing like a match with 3 already, you want to kill someone. So praying mantis makes sense as it kills its mate.
Yeah, okay. You would actually kill your platoon mate, your battle buddy, is what you're saying?
Well, you have that frustration. After 3 already, you have that crazy frustration after getting soloed, so focused.
No, it's completely understandable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Well, I think everyone kills their platoon mate at least once in a while. As long as you don't turn blue, I think it's all right.
Yeah, that's always good. Fair enough. Now, Change. You've got to stand up to the praying mantis. Change. What is your spirit animal?
Probably a cheetah, because it's sneaky, and I like to play medium tanks.
And it's fast, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
fast.
it's mostly known for being fast.
Yeah.
What about the spots? Does that come into play?
It's bipolar.
No, I don't think so.
Is there any? Do you wear cheetah?
I guess camouflage. No, I don't wear.
Okay,
cheetah.
that's not your thing. That's not your style. I just had to check. I'm just saying where we're going with this one.
All
Okay.
right. Well, on a more serious note, Lost. Last week we kind of talked about how you haven't really found your starting 7. You've been changing things up a lot, switching in different players, work schedules, all these different issues. Then during the last roster change over the weekend, you brought in Fulcris. Was this a direct attempt to kind of fix that issue that you have trying to find that starting 7?
Yeah, basically, he's very, very high-skilled individual player, so he fits in the 50B roles, the sniping roles very, very well. It's a compliment more to Spooky, as Spooky's a very, very good player. Fulcris basically complements him, so it gives us 2 people that can very solo another person out.
All
right, fair enough.
And then, of course, Deja Vu. We've got to ask you guys about bringing on Newt and how he's panning out with the team.
Dare Rising.
Sorry, Dare Rising. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to get used to this one. Dare Rising.
One job, bro.
One job. Dare Rising. Newt, tell me about him. I want to know, is he working out? How's it going with him?
He's played like 3 or 4 seasons in the Russian league, and since we already have like half our team is Russian and they speak English and Russian, he was a strategist for I think Kung Fu, one of the Tornado teams, and so we brought him on for that main purpose.
Will he be?
And it's working out.
Will he be calling at all this season for you guys?
Calling? No, he won't be calling. He might play, but he won't.
So he'll mostly be behind the scenes, helping out with the strats, kind of developing things?
Yes.
Okay.
He'll be like what probably was Dark Gods in last season for Eclipse.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for you. Last words.
Best of luck to you, man.
All right, Change. Your moment.
Yep, you too. Good luck.
Right. Thank you guys for joining me on the Face-Off. We'll see you on the battlefield. All right.
So we do move on here because now we have some interesting map picks that are going to be coming out.
Oh, yes. We'll be bringing those up in just a moment. But first things first, what is the map that you think will be the big difference, make the big change for this match between these two teams?
So looking down at my notes, something I noticed going over all these is they actually have identical records on our first 3 maps tonight. Ruinberg, Himmelsdorf, and Mainz. The records between Valence and Dare, identical so far to this point in the season. Then we move on to Prokhorovka, where Valence has managed to play this map every single match day so far, where Deja Vu has only played it twice.
Oh. So that'll be where this one is going to start to see a real difference. Because Ruinberg very likely is going to go 1-1, right? It's just that's the one you win on defense. So that one we assume is 1-1 to start. You move on, you go to Himmelsdorf. Now, what do you think happens on Himmelsdorf? Is that?
I think the attacks win both sides on that one.
You do?
Yep.
So it's about the attackers winning, defenders seeing if they can manage to find some way. So if we see Valence win on defense on Himmelsdorf, who's starting on defense? That is Dare Rising starting on defense on Himmelsdorf.
Because that's something that I've kind of admired about Valence so far this season is the one thing that they've done really well is they are masters at getting that cat pressure going and making the other team come into their gun. They've done it a bunch of times so far, and they've done it with pretty marginal success. So I think that if they can really capitalize on that, they can give Dare Rising a run for their money.
All right, so we'll have to see how that one pans out. So what about after that? We go on, of course, to Mainz. I love Mainz. It's a great map to see some medium play, stuff like that, a little bit more mobility. And, of course, I think jumps are coming into play. I've been watching a lot more of you've seen the EU League, a lot of counterplay with the jumps.
Yep, along the zero line, especially in that A6. Plus, we've been seeing a lot of Lorraine 155s coming in. And then late game, they use the Lorraines, the main thing, because they're fast, so they can get them up on those zero line climbs, and then they have new angles that they really didn't have from anywhere down below.
Yeah, and you can't get that with an American M4043.
No, it's not fast enough. Unless you boosted it, I suppose, maybe.
It seems really risky.
Well, it's a lot of effort to put in just moving your tier 8 Artie.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind here with mines, and Deja Vu especially, or in this case, Der Rising, is they had some very interesting strats during their offline matches in the weeks past. A lot of double grill setups. They brought a 183. I've seen some mouses. I've seen some IS3s. So especially when they're defending, a lot of very fascinating on mines.
Yeah,
yes.
I know the mouse makes sense. Double grill I've seen before. The IS3 bit is the one where's an IS3 show up on mines?
Use it to a direct counter to the zero line climbs. Get that IS3 out there early up against those buildings, side scrape, and then have guns behind him cover him. All he needs to do is survive, and when you put an IS3 in one of those positions where it's just side scraping, he can back out, get the lights, and take relatively little damage.
We've seen that played also with an IS7 before.
Yeah, but we've also seen the IS3 used in that same sort of role on Himmelsdorf, especially the clock tower and the 2-cap in the north. We've seen IS3 sit there and side scrape, and they do that because as long as they don't misplay it, they can last for a very long time.
Yeah, and that's only a tier 8 as opposed to a tier 10 that you're placing in that position, and that tier 8 isn't going to be able to deal a lot of damage. He's going to get 1, maybe 2 shells out, and his 122 hits about as hard as the tier 10 equivalent. About.
The biggest downfall to that we've seen comes from just this raw caliber of the guns that are going to be firing at that IS-3 when they load the HE shells. E100s, 50Bs. We actually saw it last season, a 50B loading an HE clip, driving in there and then just shooting at that IS-3, just the 4 rapid-fire shots of HE. When it racks it up, does 700-800 damage, even if he doesn't get full pens. Against an IS-3, that's half of his HP.
Really? That actually does work out.
That actually works.
I'm used to HE being like sub 100 damage on IS-3. So
but when you're shooting at it with a tier 10...
Yeah, no, that's a new revelation for me because I haven't run across that very much. A little backstory is I used to do more tier 8 stuff, so seeing it as tier 10 dynamic, it reminds you that there are some new little interesting dynamics to watch out for.
Yep, well, let's see what sort of interesting dynamics Der Rising bring tonight in our first match.
Ruinberg, a mixed-type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the centre square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village when playing a heavy setup. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
And going over our tank lineups, Valence, a 113, 250Bs, a 215B, 2 Object 430s, and a T-54 lightweight.
Talk to me about those 430s.
Very good DPM, standard Russian mediums. The turret armor's a little bit weaker than some of the others, but overall, when you're point blank, they do very well. The problem is that the gun handling as well is pretty weak.
Yeah, I've noticed that before, but if you can get into a decent range for your engagements, it's not as much of a problem, is it?
Yep. And then sorry to cut you off there, but looking at Der Rising real quick, an IS-4, a 50B, a Grill, a Batchat,
look at this though, Urtai
CDC.
Taking half his hit points, all of his hit points. He's down to Aggressor in the TVP. Opening move from Dare takes down the Tier 8 Scout. Hugely crucial tank to have.
He was trying to get over there into that A3 pocket to where he can counter out this cap. They saw that CDC. When you see that CDC, most teams immediately think they're going to use him to screen cap. They're going to put him on somewhere. And are we going to see what I think we're about to see?
And what is that you think we're about to see, Rockstar? Is it the CDC push?
They used a little path in there that you have to kind of push the CDC up and over. But he's actually been able to close the cap to where he just has one little gap now to be on cap. And he can get there. Basically what it did is it minimized how often he was exposed to the guns on the other team. And so now he's really closed the distance.
Yeah, and credit to Dare for that move. However, on the other side, for Valence didn't have eyes on the appropriate angles in order to spot that CDC.
All right.
So it actually wasn't actually that necessary. However, you could see how potentially that can pay off, right?
So,
what's going on right now? What is this?
What they're trying to do right now is they're trying to flip Chase Potato on his side. The CDC has a higher profile when on its side than when it does standing up. So what they're going to do is they're going to use him as a sacrificial lamb almost and as a shield. You're going to see Aggressor here just kind of flatten him out. They're going to get him flat up against the building on the north end here, and then they're going to have My Little Putin get right behind him and push him onto Cap. And what that does is it makes it so My Little Putin can get to Cap pretty much completely unscathed.
And all they have to do is just not flip him over. This is hilarious to watch. Look at this. It's just absolutely phenomenal. You flipped a tank on its side, not killed it, and now they're going to just push it all the way to Cap. And they're just moving it as... This is something I've never seen before. Actually never seen before.
I saw this last weekend, I believe, over on the EU League in the morning.
Which match was it?
I believe it was the Go Hard Kozna match, but I'd have to double check.
And that's here on Twitch, actually.
It's on the same Twitch channel. That's Thursday through Sunday mornings, I believe around 8 a.m. Pacific. You can find out what time exactly if you go to WGLeague.net.
Exactly. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Those are that's our sister show. They put on just a little different time zone, and I think they do a phenomenal job. So go check them out, and they'll show you things that the EU League is doing. But here in NA, we've got a CDC on its side, and well, he's not spotted, and this is taking a hilariously long amount of time just to take a flip tank and just push it all the way to Cap. We'll have to give it a minute or two before this turns into anything, but I'm wondering how Valence is going to respond.
I've told that story about the CDC getting ammo racked and then not loading ammo and that whole story plenty of times, so I won't get back into that one. But I do find it kind of, I want to say almost odd that they're using the CDC for this instead of just going, because they're not hiding what they're doing, really. They're just putting it out in the open. So why not go for, say, the Japanese Tier 8, the Oni, and just bring the giant tank out here and do the same thing?
Maybe so, but maybe that doesn't pan out because he doesn't make it to Cap in the end. That could
that's
be,
also fair.
Yeah, that could be what they're going for. It's like the CDC is mobile enough that if you don't get to do the crazy put a CDC on its side and push it to Cap, that you'll figure something out. But in the interest of knowing what the heck's going on, we're going to take a listen into Dare and see what they're talking about right now as they're just about to push their CDC onto Cap.
It's us over here. Something's over here shooting.
It's us blind firing. That's me shooting at the buildings from here.
Okay.
Moment of truth.
We can't. Nothing is spotting us right now. I'm moving
Aggressor,
now.
Grill should spot this. Yo, man.
Yeah, I'm spotting cross.
Okay.
You guys be ready to kill them.
You
on
should
that
still
side.
be in that corner.
Yeah.
Putin, be ready to give me command if 2 430s come down the middle.
Вот.
If 2 430s push the middle, do you want
Ничего
what do
мне
you
тебе
want me to
сказать?
do? Ну что ты хочешь видел?
С ТВПшкой, я не знаю, ехать или дефить, ничего.
I'm just clipping.
ТВПшка это вот это где-то здесь засветят. Типа у них 2 430, они вообще капец медленные, типа. Вы с ТВПшкой и с грилем вот с этим должны их работать.
Ну короче, я тут играю тогда.
Окей.
They're gonna come right now.
113.
No shots.
430 is going. Aggressor.
I'm right here.
Going.
I'm right here.
This batch, try to take this. Come on, guys. You have to go. Take middle.
Okay. I'm gonna dump
They just go.
I'm reloading.
They're just YOLOing in.
We can kill.
I'm
We can kill them.
Take mids. Take this. Side shots, you know?
Okay. You gotta do it quick though.
I'm going straight down the middle, Matt.
Is that 113 hold down for me?
Probably, yeah.
Aggressor, I might get him. I got 10.
Who was still unspotted?
Farm.
We gotta
No,
kill
out
this
of
50
eight,
beast
out of
bird.
Oh,
eight.
their team.
And a daring counterplay by Valence for them to get Viral into Alpha 3. He's in a dangerous position where he can delay the cap. My Little Putin does not have an option to deal with him very well. But, as you can see, his skill's paying off, and he's able to actually still pressure Viral. Now, Harmless moves up in his 50B, does get spotted, very exposed, but this should be worth it. There's the kill. And
Meanwhile,
now
in the middle, the 50Bs
tanks
are getting pincered out. They do respawn and take down MacTap Putin, but Burden Fungus is still lurking down there, and these 50Bs are both on reload.
Exactly. This is going the way of Dare right now. Strong opening play from them. The response from Valence is forced. They have to go to stop the cap, and in doing so, they pay dearly for it. And Dare playing excellently. You could hear them calm, cool, and collected the whole time.
For a second there, I wondered if I was watching the Russian league because all I was hearing was Russian for a solid minute there.
Yeah, you heard it. For a moment, it was English comms, English comms, English comms, and then once you had My Little Putin discussing, was that with... Who was that with?
That was Maktep, I believe.
Was that with Maktep? Okay,
Yeah.
that would make a lot of sense. Once he started discussing with Maktep, they decided, let's just switch into Russian. We can talk. No one else is going to get distracted by it. Because that's actually an interesting point. When you've got a bilingual team and some of your members don't speak a language, it's actually quite a bit easier to just have a side conversation that doesn't just distract you.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If two people are talking at the same time in chat, in your team speak, it gets a little hard to listen to. But if two people are speaking two different languages, sometimes it gets a little bit easier to interject.
Yeah, well, two things. One, in that case, there was nothing going on. There was no big brawl, so I don't think it would have been as useful there as opposed to maybe during some sort of chaotic brawl with everyone talking. It's a lot easier to pick out a second language mixed in there.
Oh, yeah, because it was calmer.
Yeah, but the other thing, though, to think about is something that I kind of noticed was My Little Putin kind of seemed almost annoyed, if you could kind of hear it in his voice to a certain extent. Now, for Red, I don't speak Russian, so I don't know exactly what they were saying, but do I sound crazy when I say it kind of sounded like he was a little bit annoyed with Maktep when they were sitting there discussing whatever that was?
You could say that, but then there's also the point to raise about cultural difference, right? Something I've noticed when interacting with people from overseas, usually the Russian teams and them, is they don't necessarily come off the same way as your North American counterparts. So someone in North America, even a different region, southeast, you go to the northeast, you come out west here to California, people speak differently. You get a different impression from the way someone speaks. And so My Little Putin, we're not the best experts to talk about whether or not he sounded one emotional way or another, I'd say. Yep. It's something where very easily he can sound aggressive or angry or even annoyed, but to us, and that's how it sounds to us, but all he's doing is he's speaking normally, and his background makes sense.
Maybe one of our viewers out there happens to be bilingual and can translate and let us know if I have.
I'm sure
if there's anything to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll be sure. I'll ask Master Putin later. He's always happy to answer questions, and he can probably shed some light on the dynamic there.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things where you think you're reading into it, and all of a sudden you find out, oh wait, it's because he's Russian.
Yep. Now the other thing to look at here is that was Valence dropping a defense on Ruinberg, something we talk about really shouldn't be a thing too often.
Yeah, so we started this one out discussing that. This should have been defender win and a defender win. Now we have an attacker win. So that's Dare starting this one off on a great foot. If they win on defense now, that starts 2 up, and then we move on to our second map, which I believe is Himmelsdorf, correct?
Correct.
And so we'll get into Himmelsdorf when we get there, but this is already off to a strong start for Dare. This looks great for them in the series. Valence is going to have a lot of work ahead of them if they want to even stay in this.
Yeah, well, I think where that went wrong for Valence was when Urtai got picked off at the beginning, and that was a clear counterplay by Dare Rising. They were set up with those TVPs, and they were looking in that gap. They knew that something may try to push past there. If that had been a Bat Chat or a Tier 10, he would have gone down just the same as the T-54 Lightweight.
All right, well, now as we get ready to look at the tank lineups, talk to me about what's going through the head of Valence. What are they thinking with a lineup like this?
A 113, a 50B, 2 Bat Chats, a TVP, a Grill 15, and an RU 251. To me, that says field play. Use the Grill to maybe try to get some shots towards the 0 line. Use the Bat Chats as well out there to spot, maybe the 113 on cap. And then use the TVP and the 50B to kind of lurk around the 6th line. Looking over at Dare Rising, coming in a 113, 3 50Bs, a T62A, an STRV 103B or the S-Tank, and a T54 Lightweight. Between the T62A and that STRV 103B, that says hard 0 line play to me.
Yeah, I think so too. You're looking at the S-Tank, and I'm going to follow him for a large portion of this battle because I love watching these S-Tanks in play. Damage output, the damage potential, the nuance of playing the tank is also really important. And so I'm watching Aggressors. He's making his way right down that 0 line you were talking about. And if you look at the minimap, you can even see all those red tanks off in the distance. Valence is also going towards the 0 line. So this might be S-Tank about to just deal damage, or we're about to see an S-Tank get completely swamped and just totally annihilated.
And that's something we've seen from the S-Tank a lot this season. It's either feast or fam. It's either they feast and they put out a lot of damage, or they just don't get anything. They get shut out of the fight and they go down early.
Yeah, and now Chase Potato in his opening scout roof does take about more than half of his hit points in damage, but spotting is worth it. He's able to see Spooky way in the back in the 50B, Zone Delta, Viral, and now Aggressor in that S-Tank is spotted, trying to get himself into a solid position, wait for himself to become unspotted if he can. Don't know if that's going to be an option for him, and he's just going to start dealing damage. First hit right into Spooky for 407.
Fulcrus sitting here passive behind the bush, just trying to get some eyes towards the Delta Village there, maybe spot something for the 50B or the Grill lurking in the backfield. And this is a setup fairly close to what I imagined would happen, except the Batchats are one of them over in the town on the 3 line, just watching the rotation through the town.
Oh, and look at that shot. Aggressor sneaks it just over the terrain, kills the RU, gets that scout out, and now he doesn't have to worry about anything. Aggressor is almost invincible in his current position.
Yep, and these Batchats, Fulcrus does get lit when he tries to leave, and so now they're going to know that they're trying to pull tanks out. This causes a problem for Valence because the element of surprise that they need to try to crack a defense is gone.
Exactly. And now, actually, I'm seeing that there's an interesting thing I didn't think about. It's hard to tell what your angles are in the southeast. You had hesitation coming out from Aggressor. He wasn't able to find a clear shot onto an escaping Batchat and loses out on some potential damage for it.
Now, one thing I want to mention there real quick, the viewers watching Fulcrus here, if they notice, his gun was pointed towards the camera the whole time, which what he was doing is he left his gun facing the enemy, held his right click, and then pushed his camera around to where he could see where he was driving. That way he can focus where he's trying to go, and if all of a sudden a tank gets lit, he can stop and his gun's all ready to be on target.
Yep, it's an important skill to pay attention to, especially in developing players. You want to watch and try and find those little efficiencies. Make it so your turret's facing the correct direction before the engagement. You don't need to move your turret then to get on target. And then if your turret ring is damaged and you have to move your turret slower, you're in a better position. If your turret ring is completely destroyed and you can't move your turret, there's a possibility that you're at least on target, or at least near to.
And it's also important if you play a tank such as the Kronwagen, a tank that has very poor turret traverse, because that's going to be even longer for you to get your gun on target.
Exactly. Always pay attention to those little things you can do to get ahead. Now, what do we see out of Valence is they are moving from the southeast now to the north, which usually doesn't work out late game.
Yeah, well, what they've done is they've actually hidden the tanks they have left in the south into that little pocket down there at K5, and they're trying to show that they have nothing left there. They're going to use the 113 in these Batchats to get the cap pressure in the north, and then these tanks all the way in the south will move up and try to get a crossfire. The biggest problem here is if Dare spots this too early, they figure out that there's 2 tanks here, look at how far apart these guns are for Valence. If that isolation is spotted, all Dare have to do is group up their tanks and hit one group, and they're going to have an automatic 7-on-3 or 7-on-4 overmatch. Either or should go in their favor.
All right, now we are seeing finally a little bit of movement. That's a G-Forcer in the 113 moving up towards the cap. We'll see how this one's able to pan out. If it works out for Valence and they're able to get pressure from 2 sides, awesome. Rarely, though, do we see that type of coordination work out in the favor of the attacker. It's very hard to execute, and even harder for your opponent, even harder to keep your opponent from figuring it out, right?
And you just said, it's one of the harder things to do, and that's just attacking on Ruinberg in general. This particular strat, we see it a lot because when you do it perfectly, it's still your best chance at getting a win that you can control. Now, if the other team makes mistakes, that's always something completely different. But this is the best shot that you have of putting the odds in your favor.
Assuming your opponent's going to make perfect responses.
Yep. Even then, if the other team makes those perfect responses, this still isn't a guaranteed win. It's still very hard to pull off, and you have to do everything perfectly to even have a shot.
Okay, so now we have that pressure coming out. Shots fired.
And this is one of
trying
those
to put the pressure on. Fulcrus, though, going down. Not a good start for him.
This is one of those things I was just talking about, that you have to do it perfectly. That includes getting your tanks pushing across to that A6 village, have to be unspotted when they cross. They need to do it in some sort of disguise. Or the guns in the Delta village have to be turned towards the south so that what we just saw doesn't happen.
Exactly. So now we do have a bit of another engagement coming up. We've got Zone Delta pressuring up against Chase Potato, while we do have the fight continuing in the north. Batchat static is out of ammo, so Master Putin's able to move in. Now Zone Delta takes 375, trying to force Chase Potato out. Chase, though, playing this position excellently, and Zone Delta may go down without getting his kill.
Yep, Static just trying to stay alive, playing ring around the rosy. Burden's alive on almost no HP, 448, 2-shotter to most. Zone Delta does find a shot onto Chase Potato. G-Forcer actually ignores Milo Putin and puts the shot into Burden, and Valence not out of this yet.
That was a bold play right there from Valence. It did pay off to some extent. That relieved pressure on a crucial tank I don't know if it's actually going to pan out. We'll just leave that alone for now. TVP of Zone Delta's going to last because he's down to 1 shell from anything.
Yep, in Valence,
Yeah,
the dream is fading right now. I don't know if they can pull this off. They started to make the recovery there for a second, but I think they just gave up too much on that cross when they lost Fulcrus.
Yeah, I agree. But there is the crossfire that we mentioned earlier. If that can come into play, we could see something. Although with an S-Tank at full health, with a 50B at full health, and with even Harmless mostly healthy, I don't know if there's enough damage that they're going to be able to pump out before it's able to be kind of put right back out.
Well, this is the only play that Valence have, and that's just stacking the cap with the 2 tanks. It gets the cap down to 30 seconds right now. The problem is both these 50Bs are heading to the north. They'll be there in plenty of time, and they had plenty of time to reload their clips as well, which should mean that this is GG and game over.
Yep, and at the same time, Chase Potatoes is able to come around the backside of the cap and should be able to get a delay of his own, should he be needed. However, I like this. You see Harmless leading the way. He's going to be the first tank up. First shot's a miss from our T-54 Chase Potato, but it won't matter. It's only a matter of time before it's all over, and Spooky is the only remaining tank with 30 hit points.
30 hit points against 3,841. I don't see this happening. I think Aggressor in that S-Tank should be able to pick this up.
Absolutely. There's no doubt he should be able to get the win right here, and that's going to be Dare picking up battle number 2 and starting this series up 2-0.
An Aggressor just creeping in. He knows that Spooky's pinned behind this building, just creeping up ever so slowly. Chase is coming from the town, just trying to isolate every angle.
And a little bit of damage out. Okay. Spooky's able to get, 2 more shells of stat padding for his Fantasy League points.
Yep, Spooky is the top damage dealer on Valence right now, so one of the good fantasy pickups there, even with them still struggling early on. They had a great match last week against Rival.
Yeah, and you heard Lost talking about it in the pre-game interview, Face-Off, how Spooky is kind of that solo player. You just let him go do his thing, right? You find where he fits in the strategy, you make sure he understands his role, and then you just go let him do damage and be awesome. Because to an extent, you need to let every player on your team kind of flex within their role. They need to be able to do what they would like to do, how they would like to, with the understanding that, yes, we need to move as a team.
Yeah, now he did have very bold words, I guess you could say, about Fulcrus and the fact that Fulcrus was going to be right up there with Spooky, that he'd compliment him. And if you look at that means that he feels he'll be one of the top fantasy players as well. He'll be one of those players that can put out a lot of damage. So we definitely need to keep an eye on Fulcrus and see if he can live up to that expectation that Lost just set for him.
Yeah, but last battle, he got torn apart on the cross in the north, so we really didn't get to see him perform as well as he needed to. Yep. I call that paying the toll.
Yep.
And so you can see Static leading the way in the post-game stats for this battle.
Yep, and then Aggressor, one of the top fantasy picks for, I was about to say Deja Vu, but Dare Rising. 2,900 damage, 35 fantasy points. Durgel, though, in that 50B, 2,502 kills. And then on the second page, Mactap Putin, one of my favorite fantasy picks. Didn't pick him today, though. Still putting up 1,546 fantasy points. Respectable.
And here's what happened. Viral, Fulcrus, they didn't even get to deal damage. That's just it. It's one of those things. You don't get to deal any damage in that tank.
He got his 6.5 fantasy points for driving the mile from their spawn point.
Exactly. That's just it's nothing against him. He didn't get a chance to even begin an engagement. He's a bat chat on Ruinberg. You're gonna get to go into an engagement, fight, probably not do anything else but die. So you get one clip off, and that's probably it. Yep. Nothing else is probably going to happen for you. If you manage to survive, fantastic, great. So congratulations to you. But it's not. It's never going to pan out that way 90% of the time.
Well, let's see if Dare Rising can keep the momentum up as we head into our second map tonight.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
And looking at the lineups here, Valence 113, a 50B, a 215B, a Kronwagen, a Batchat, 4005 Stage 2, and a 1390.
Hey.
Dare Rising.
Hey.
2 113s, a 50B, a Batchat, 2 FV 215B, 183s, and an IS3.
I love this. Rox, tell me you don't love this. 2 FV 183s.
I am a little bit lost for words on this one because I feel like this is one of those things where, once again, it's going to be a feast or famine type moment. Either these 183s are going to go off, they're going to do an insane amount of damage, or they're going to get no connections. RNG is going to say no. Shots are going to go into the wall, and they're about to lose horribly.
It's a possibility, of course. But, like, it could just work. I don't know.
It could.
It's one of those things. You're right. It's completely up to just whatever happens, happens. But Bird and Fungus, I wanted to see him early on because it looked like he was looking up the middle of the map. I was hoping for a moment that we'd get to see him make his shots count, but nothing early game. Nothing yet.
Yeah, Kronwagen working the 8 line here, working the hold downs. Something that Kronwagen succeeds at is playing terrain like that, playing hold downs. The turret armor on it is fantastic. DPM not that great, but its survivability is so good it's worth bringing it just for that alone.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it pans out. I'm wanting to see, do you know how the 183 fares against a Kronwagen, just firing against the front?
Against the turret, it will not pen. It will do a decent amount of splash damage, maybe some module damage to the gun.
But the Hesh is relatively ineffective against a Kronwagen and hold down?
It's one of the few tanks that could chip away at it. You give it 4 or 5 shots, it could probably kill him, doing 400 or 500 at a time. Yeah. But that's just because the Hesh. You won't see the pens. It's just going to be the same as, say, an HE shell from an E100.
Okay. So it's not actually damaging the front of his turret or penetrating. It's hitting all of the modules that it's splashing off of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is if he gets a side shot or a shot on the lower front plate, there is a very strong chance that it pens, and that could be Zone Delta completely dead from there on.
I just realized what My Little Putin's position is all about. He was sitting in the middle of cap for Dare Rising on cap number 2, and he was actually looking towards the hill. So he's planned on counterfiring the angle on the hill that a lot of medium and light tanks will take in order to scout things out. So doesn't look like anyone's going to show up there for Valence, at least as far as Dare is concerned. And so they're going to shift their focus now to preparing for a push up the 8 line. That was where Zone Delta was earlier. And so they're prepared to see just that one little bit of spotting, get that one shot of damage. That's all the 183 cares about. And then probably back off and regroup, right?
Yeah, no, precisely. And right now, it looks like that is Valence, are grouping up towards the hill, and they're going to make some sort of play up the 8 line and 0 line. Now, what could bring this in favor of Dare is that those 4005s, the 215B 183s coming through huge, getting some penetrations, and they could even the fight up in the north. The problem is if those tanks don't come through with full pens, it's going to be Valence that are going to have like a 6-on-4, 6-on-5 overmatch depending on how long it takes Dare to respond.
We'll have to see how that pans out as Viral is spotted on the hill. I see Model Putin looking towards the hill. So if Viral plays this a little bit riskier, if he gets too aggressive at the wrong time, the wrong place, he could find himself taking a 183 shell to the face. However, Milo Putin is spotted. That's an important note, and he, without spotting anything in return, and he's going to be forced to actually go into cover or risk taking counterfire himself, because there is that FV 4005, right, up on the hill?
Yeah, he's up there. He's trying to find some shots towards the 1-2 line. I don't think they've realized that most of the tanks for Dare are sitting up in the north along the A line. Zone Delta just moving around here, just trying to see if he sees anything rotating, but so far they don't think that they're in danger in this courtyard, so they're just going to push up the 8 line for free without paying that toll you were talking about.
Yeah, you have to make your opponent pay the toll, if you can. And that's what I thought we were going to see a lot more with this Dare layout, but it looks like Dare is kind of has decided not to be as aggressive or as stubborn with it as they could have been. I'm not going to judge him for it either way, because it's your choice whether or not you want to stay in that position or not. It could pay off, or it very well could bite you in the end. But
and they just spotted Mektat Putin leaving the hill,
and
maybe some bait there for Valence,
trying to kind of show him, hey, here's a bat chat, come and chase us. We definitely don't have anything waiting around the corner for you at all. My little Putin isn't here waiting at all for you to just peek around and counterfire. However, My Little Putin is looking the wrong way, and Fulcrest is just about to peak. So, if his timing isn't right, that could end up... This does actually look like it could go towards Valence, at least based on some of the tells right now. And we'll have to see how that one goes. Fulcrest trying to kind of reverse angle, making sure that nothing is further back on the road that he's not expecting.
They think there's a trap here. They're trying to figure it out. Viral actually gets the track shot. Now he's going to peek. He spots the 183, and the 183 misses. And now he has a 20-second window to get in there and get some more shots off.
Well, My Little Putin does have a shell loaded, it looks like.
I thought he fired.
No.
He didn't.
He didn't fire. He didn't even get a chance to put to aim on target.
That was the 50B then.
Must
And he
have been.
does get the shot onto MacTap. And they do get...
That's the shot
There's
fired.
the shot. Full penetration on to Fulcrus, and he goes down.
Yep. See, that's what you bring these 183s for. Yes, you lost a 113. Yes, you lost your bat chat as well. But Fulcrus is down in that 50B. Viral has taken most of his hit points and damage. My Little Putin can reload and probably engage against almost anyone on the side of Valence, and he should be able to wipe something off the battlefield.
This is precisely what I was talking about before. Even though Valence had the numbers in that area, those 183s are a game changer in the sense that one penetrating shot, that's a tank gone. That's a tank off the battlefield. And that may have just kept this in the favor of Dare Rising.
Yeah, I think if My Little Putin hadn't made that connection, this battle is going quickly in the favor of Valence. Because he made that connection, he just stopped them cold. That 50B needed to live and needed to get out. But good defense. I want to see more 183s firing here and there. I feel like the volume of fire out from Burned Fungus and My Little Putin is a little lacking, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like they would be finding those angles a little bit more aggressively.
Well, the other thing to look at here is Viral has actually left the hill. He's going to rotate down and around, and he's going to come over here and go out towards the one cap. And it looks like the rest of the tanks for Valence are starting to do the same.
Ah, so what they've done is they realized that the 183s from Dare have put
but
up
watch
too
this.
strong
I
of
don't
a
think they
perimeter.
know Burden Fungus is here. Spooky needs to be careful now. He's going to stop.
They know he's there. They know. They saw him earlier, so they should have an idea. If they don't, they've assumed he's moved at this point.
And it looks like Viral is actually going to cross in the south. He does have a dead driver, so he's going to have it a little bit harder. And Spooky takes the cross. The non-penetrating shot from the Hess shell. Only 725. I say only 725. That's still a lot of damage, but it could have been worse.
It always could have been worse. Now, Burden Fungus, though, he can just put his nose right into the wall, hide from these shots, stay safe for the next 20 seconds, and there will be another shell loaded by the time he's ready to go. So this shouldn't take long at all. This shouldn't be a really big issue for him. Viral's going to be able to move up. I think this might be a bit aggressive from him. He is a one-shot if he comes in behind and is spotted too early.
Now, the one thing we haven't talked about is Static in the 4005. He's sitting here, and he has a shot down that B line. So when Dare try to rotate out to go stop that cap pressure on the one cap, he's going to have a clean shot on the back of their tank.
See, there's the clean shot. Chase Potato taking 517 from Urtai. Not going to be able to avoid it.
Milo Putin doesn't know that Static's here, I don't think. Harmless is going to peek. Harmless is going to see him take the shot but miss. And now Milo Putin has to decide what he wants to do.
And this is a tricky situation. Chase Potato and the IS-3 is probably going to go down, getting pressured out on the far side of the map, but I don't think this is going to be the major play that matters for this battle. Chase should be going down momentarily. I think it's going to come down to those heavy tanks you were talking about in the middle. That's Harmless, Burden Fungus finally taking some damage as well. And
Static's going to back up. He's going to get a little bit further up the hill so he has some momentum when he crosses. In fact, no, he's worried about about one of the tanks coming up to get him. They see the 50B on the cross, so he's just going to line up.
Yeah, and My Little Putin looks like he's trying to figure out what's going on.
There's no one in position to get the reset. The IS-3 is the only one that can, but Viral's in position, and Static does take down Aggressor finally.
And that FV, it looks like Burden Fungus moves around, tries to go for one shell, misses, does not realize he's facing the wrong way against Zone Delta, who's able to get the damage out. Chase Potato finally goes down in that IS-3, and the Kronwagen is able to kill Burden Fungus. He did not need to go down like that. That hurts a lot. And now with 25 seconds left,
Static's trying to find My Little Putin. He's trying to cut him off, get the shot.
Valence should be able to pick up that win on attack you were talking about. Just give him a moment, and they should be able to execute. This is done. Yeah, this is completely done. There's no way for this to end in the favor of Dare.
5 seconds, and Static's actually going to push around the corner, I think. No, Milo Putin's going to peek him. Static's going to back up. Snap off. And the full pen onto Static, so My Little Putin still farming those fantasy points for those that picked him, but it's going to be Valence picking up the win, making the series 2-1.
Not bad. Valence needed that to stay in this. If this had gone up, I guess, 3-0 at this point, it easily goes over into 5-0, I expect. It's hard to keep your team focused at that point. You've gone down that definitively against an opponent that is expected to do well. This is Dare Rising, formerly Deja Vu, a team that has performed rather well throughout the entire WGL. Last season, they ended up making it to the finals. And then this season, right now, they're sitting at second place to Apex. Everything says they should be going ahead in this one. So a 2-1 scoreline at this point says this is to expectations. It also respects the fact that Valence played that well.
Well, they are the second-place team right now, not just because they're in second place, but in the pecking order, looking at the rest of the teams and seeing how they're performing, they really do look like the second best. Not a knock on to them, but second best to Apex is not a bad position to be in.
Fair enough. All right, we'll have to see how that one pans out, because looking at this is... Tell me more about what you saw in that battle that you thought really panned out in the favor of Valence, because this looked like a solid defense ready to happen.
Remember what I said earlier about how Valence are really good at making teams have to move around and really force them with the cap pressure, and they do a good job pulling them into their guns? That's exactly what they did here. They started towards that north cap. They got the tanks committed over there. They realized where Deja Vu were. And just before I get to that point, look at this. Putin doing almost 4,000 damage, 2 kills, 62 fantasy points. And then Zone Delta in the Kronwagen getting 68 fantasy points. And it was Urtai in the 1390 who had a big game there, including the full cap for Valence, doing 127 fantasy points. Not bad there.
All right, I do have an update for you guys on our off-broadcast matches at this time. I'm being told that the Apex match versus Rival is currently up 3-0, and we have that replay for you now. This is Apex, the red team, versus Rival, the blue, defending, and Apex is going to dominate this battle. They'll start this one up 1-0, carry it on to a 2-0 victory, and you can see the execution right there against a very standard Prokhorovka defense. And by the looks of it, Rival's putting up a solid fight, but I'm seeing highly coordinated moves out of Apex. Rival just not standing up. And that's battle number 2 you're seeing right there, the end of it with Knight going down. An interesting note is that Knight is in fact playing tonight. So we'll see if he's able to perform well, if Rival's able to put up 1 or 2 wins against Apex. If so, I say that's probably going to be a win for Rival in their book.
Yep. Now, one thing I wanted to get back to is the point that you asked me about.
Yes.
And looking, Valence, what they did on attack there was they got the tanks moved over towards that 2 cap in the north. They figured out where those tanks were. And what they did that was so brilliant there was they then realized, all right, we don't have to cap this. We have them in a position where they're isolated. They have to pay that toll to go get those resets. It's the same thing, but in reverse. They got those guns on those lanes to say, all right, Deja Vu, or excuse me, Dare, if you want to get the resets out on that 1 cap, run through our FV 4005, our 215B, and whatever else.
Absolutely. Now, we are about to get back into map for battle number 4. Let's go ahead, check it out.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
Number 4, Dare Rising saying, all right, enough of those tank destroyers didn't work out for us, bringing 2 113s, 350Bs, a Batchat, and a 1390. Meanwhile, Valence still holding on to their tanks destroyers, bringing a 215B, a 50B, an E3, a 4005, a Batchat, an AMX 5120, and an Emil 2.
I'm gonna have to ask because I feel like the answer makes sense. But is there something else going on with the 120 choice? The 5120? Why?
It's just a worse 50B as far as I can tell.
What about per shot damage?
It is, I believe, still 400 like the 50B, but it has such... The DPM on it is so much worse.
My little Putin taking damage in the open. This is paying the toll, taking that damage to take the position on your opponent's side of the map. And Dare, in the first minute, has managed to take control of the northeast side of the map. You can see Valence right now on the mini-map is moving around to the south to kind of counterflank this position. But the cap begins, and it's now up to Valence to stop it.
Yep, and if I remember correctly, now it's been a while, but I believe the 5120 has a much longer delay between the shells than the 50B. I believe it comes in at 2.5 or 3 seconds, where the 50B is a 2-second delay between each shell, on top of the clip reload being significantly longer.
I'd have to check up on that, but that sounds about accurate from my memory. I don't see a lot of 5120s around.
Yeah, it's not something we see terribly often in the Gold League.
Most of the time people say, yeah, well, why would I take a 5120 when I could take a 50B?
Or in this case, the Emil 2. I think the Emil 2 I believe has the same DPM, or roughly has the same DPM as the 5120, and it has the survivable turret armor, and the speed on it's about the same.
Maybe player preference at that point. Ooh, shots fired, Chase Potato able to dodge it, and he's not going to take any damage for that.
I also find it amusing that the Swedish player on Valence is deciding to go for the French tank instead of a Swedish tank. But that's just another little side tidbit there.
Oh, he's probably griping about it, but, we'll never know.
Batchat up on the hill, poking over, does find Maktat Putin. And they're going to square off, but Viral's going to back off and decide not to take those trades right then.
We'll have to see how this pans out, because right now it's at 36 seconds left on the cap. We do need to see someone stopping the cap, delaying it, anything. Static in the FV4005 has been trying his best to get the cap delay, but is not able to. Viral, not able to find the angle onto the Chase Potato in 1390. And, oh, here it is. There's the move. G-Force are trying to move up, along with Urtai to back him up, and Spooky. And, well, there's the cap. It's finally delayed. They don't have to push in. Valence can back off. But is it worth it? Because Zone Delta is already down to, 295
Harmless needs to be careful right now because he's coming around and he's going to find the shot. He's going to get out of there just in time to where Static cannot put that Hess shell into the engine deck of that 113.
Oh, just barely. But you could see him just go for something. Because there is a chance that we see that FV move up. And with cap pressure coming back now, and with, I see on the hill, Viral chasing down Master Putin, I'm wondering what Valence's response will be, because they do have their opponent surrounded. Dare's got to be grouping up to break out. Oh, there it is. Dare has decided, all right, guys, we are surrounded. We have to pick a direction and go. It's what you do when they've got guns in every direction, and they're going for Fulcrus. 50B's getting pressured, and he will go down. Nice shot from My Little Putin right through the building.
Now, Static's going to be next, but Static may make them pay a price for this, because he's loaded, and he is staring at that corner.
He is, but they're not really doing anything
They're ignoring
about
him. He's going to pull around. And he's going to do 1,500 damage to that 50B, and he's going to back off. They should be able to find the kill shot onto him, but that may have been enough damage to turn this in the favor of Valence.
Yeah, Durgil is going to come around the corner and say, payback time. And he gets it.
But that still may have been enough to win the game for Valence. They only have 4 tanks alive. However, they have the HP up over Dare right now.
That they do, but we'll have to see what the response is. Valence has options. They have hit points in their favor, but they do not have the number of guns. They need to get kill after kill after kill. They need to focus fire, get in there, and make a fight happen. If they do that, we could see Valence. Nice damage, 1,103 onto Master Putin. That's between Spooky and their Batchat Viral. He's going to be able to retreat. At the same time, My Little Putin, Bird and Fungus, you can see them moving up to maybe get some damage onto Spooky. Don't think that's going to work
Harmless
out,
though. And Durgil are going to try to force a fight onto G-Forcer here, but Durgil's a one-shotter, and G-Forcer should have the prowess to hold his shot against Harmless and find that pick onto Durgil before he can empty that clip.
Yeah, the problem here for Dare is that they don't have anyone who can actually peek and take damage. They have to count on a bounced shell. They have to bet on Spooky not getting the hit.
And there we go. The snap from G-Forcer onto that 50B turret gets the pen, and Valence looking good right now.
Absolutely. They should be able to clean this one up. They are on defense. Everything's in their favor in that respect. But Dare needs to spread out a bit, I think. What do you think about that? If they get around, surround their opponent, get the crossfire that's needed, and make it so if Valence wants to come and find one of these Dare tanks and take him down, finally put him out, that they're going to have to pay more than double hit points.
The problem is that Viral has gotten away from the rest of the group. He's going to be the lone wolf off on this flank. And there's no one that can take him one-on-one. So to get him down, they're going to need to send 2 or maybe 3 tanks. Because look at the HP with Dare. They don't have a lot of it.
Yeah, Viral has 1,351. He's going to be able to take down Harmless in 2-3 shells. My Little Putin definitely in 2 shells.
Yeah. And Mactap has less HP. So if they go blow for blow, Batchat for Batchat, Viral will come out of that even if he misses a shot.
He should. He should come out of that. We've seen it before where a Batchat misses one crucial shell at the right time, and all of a sudden the entire plan falls apart.
And G-Forcer and Viral are actually going to make a move onto Harmless here. They know he's kind of alone. Viral's going to move through that courtyard. The thing they have to worry about is that the 50B up on the hill of Aggressor should be able to find some shots onto Viral, and G-Forcer actually snaps another shot off onto Harmless, and this is looking good for Valence.
That it is. Dare does have some options. They do need to get moving. An aggressor doesn't need to take damage. It looks like he's about to almost take one shell. It's from the bat shot down below. But you can see the angle is working in the favor of Viral. Nice dodge. He's able to avoid one shell from aggressor. There goes Harmless. G-Force are doing very well with that. So Valence, as time goes on, they're able to just slow play this one out. And they know if there's a 50B on the hill, they can leave him alone. Viral getting closer to the hill where aggressor can't fire on him. And if he can play this well, then aggressor won't be able to put any damage. He'll be able to kill Master Putin. There's Master Putin.
Spooky gets the shot onto him, while Viral picks up Mekta.
And 2 tanks remain. Model Putin, Bird and Fungus. It's a 113 and a 50B.
And now Spooky, well, he was kind of alone and isolated before. G-Forcer has moved up into the north and is sitting here ready to cover his turretless tank destroyer buddy.
All right. So now we wait. All right.
Viral's going to drop down, go out towards the 2 line, just open things up, and this should just be Valence's game. Dare probably taking some time to discuss what to do next round, which is going to move over onto Mines right now. So Mines is going to come into play. Looking at the stats.
Oh, Spooky misses, and My Little Putin is going to be able to get not one more shell of damage in there. He's going to actually bounce that one, goes for a track. He's going to have 1 shell left. He's actually going to hold on to that, and you're going to actually see Bird and Fungus move in his 113. He's actually going to jump onto the cap, use the Rex of Master Putin and of Chase Potato in the 1390 to cover his back while looking forward. And if this pays off, he may be able to get 1-2 shells out into Viral. If this doesn't, and that might be because of what he just did with the back of his tank, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whatsoever. Everything I was speculating about doesn't matter. He's dead.
Spooky's caught out in the open. G-Force are trying to get the shot, but Viral is actually going to open up the angle from the 8 line, finish it off, and that's going to make it 2-2. Not necessarily what I saw there.
This was expected to be an attack winners, right? Mm-hmm. On Himmelsdorf. You were expecting Valence to win on attack and Dare to win on attack. This did not happen. Valence won. Now, both times.
Something else to look at. We're going to be going on to Mines next. Valence are 0-2 on attack, but 2-2 on defense.
Okay.
Where Dare are 1-1 on attack and 1-1 on defense.
Okay. So what are you trying to say with that?
I'm saying that could be the map that could end up flipping this, because Valence apparently don't know how to attack on Mines, or they just haven't had a successful strat so far. And if they don't have one ready tonight, Dare showing that they have some idea how to do it, and so that could be a 2-0 win in favor of Dare on Mines, which would move the series to 4-2. And then we move on to our last map, which is going to be Prokhorovka, which is a map that Valence are comfortable on, but they don't have the greatest record on.
Yeah, and now let's look at the post-battle stats. Those of you guys following your fantasy points, if you picked Spooky, congratulations. If you picked Static, also congratulations. Because Spooky put up 86 on his fantasy points. My Little Putin put up 4,146 because he's always excellent in his 50B, but not quite getting as many points there. And then, okay, this works out. Master Putin getting a little middle of the pack. G-Force are doing okay. These are some of the people that are major picks for fantasy, players that you're following and expecting to perform. Surprisingly, G-Forcer is a heavy tank player that I would have thought would score a bit higher on a map like Himmelsdorf.
He was very crucial in the way that strat played out, but because of the response out at Deja Vu, how they decided to respond there while they were attacking, it kind of had the fight drive away from him. G-Forcer was never in a spot where he had a lot of shots, where Static, for example, in that FV 4005, had some great shots he was able to get off, Fulcrus as well, and so they didn't really play into G-Forcer. So definitely could have been more effective, but I don't think it's necessarily his fault or Valence's fault. I think it's more just the way that Dare decided to respond to how Valence were pressuring them.
Okay. Well, by the way, I'm just getting the update right now. We do have an update on our non-broadcasted match. Apex versus Rival currently stands at 4-0. Apex leading by a massive margin. No big surprises right there. This is what's expected. Apex going up 4 against Rival. They're the top team in the league. Rival is currently struggling, and in a matchup like this, Apex is expected to take it away, as they have done with numerous other opponents.
I actually have another update. It's actually now 5-0 in favor of Apex.
Oh!
Now, I don't want to use this as a knock on Rival, because this is Apex. Apex has been 5-0ing everyone. They 5-0'd M60s on last Thursday.
Exactly. Like this is Apex dominating, showing just that no matter what day they show up on, they're always going to just be decisive. So I'm sorry for those of you guys who played Fantasy and picked Apex players today.
Well, let's see if Deja Vu can be decisive on our next map.
Mines, a small summertime map with lots of hills, rocks and other cover. The teams start the battle in the usual locations, but the base locations are different. One is located in the bottom part of the village, and the other one is in the water. One of the key objectives is the center hill. That's why the teams will often select fast vehicles and tanks with strong turrets for cover.
The score is 2-2. Valence coming in with an IS-4, 3 Batchats, a TVP, a Grill 15, and Viral bringing the UDIS. Meanwhile, completely blanking on the name there, Dare Rising, a 113, 3 Batchats, 2 TVPs, and a Lorraine 155.
All right, so the Lorraine's coming out. This is a very common strategy we're starting to see, especially from teams that are spawning on the blue side, the
Attacking
attackers.
side.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if it plans out. So we're going to see that Lorraine probably take a position in the rear of the map, aiming now towards, looks like, looking towards some of the defensive positions or to traditional counter-arty positions. And because nothing's really been spotted right now, Dare doesn't really have shots. So Lorraine tries for something. That was weird. And won't be able to get much at the beginning. Harmless, though, does go for the normal jump and is going to take damage for it. Trying to pressure Zone Delta in the TVP. Does win out in damage for that, but pays in some on his own.
Definitely.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
And let's see if we can get a shot over here onto the UDIS. See if, Randall, if you could pull that up real quick.
The UDIS?
So look at the position that he's in right now. He's using the siege mode to get the back of his tank up nice and high, but it's the only part sticking out. And so he'll have clean lights both on that cap over on the 2 cap.
But he's hidden just perfectly enough to see his allies, Spooky and Static, get completely annihilated trying to cross.
Oh, and
in
Static
the south.
down to 1,700. Spooky's going to try to join him.
He kept trying to go forward. This is the part that I don't know. And that's Lorraine getting the hit. Nice
Chase
job.
Potato in the artillery.
Okay, not bad. That is the Lorraine. Fast-firing shell, rather low arc. You can put shots on target where you like. I generally enjoy my French arty. And look at the grouping from Dare. They're going to push through and destroy Spooky in just a minute, given the opportunity. And at the same time, you're going to have over on the other side of the map, that's Harmless. On the high ground, I think that was him putting some damage into G-Forcer. He's going to look for more. See if he can get that. That might be a little greedy, but we'll see if it pays off. And he's going to move around to now view finds Fulcrus. This is big. So Harmless is down 1-2 shells of damage, right? He also is now on reload. Fulcrus is chasing after him.
And Fulcrus knows that he just fired.
Yep, Fulcrus knows he's on reload or he doesn't have enough shells. I don't care. I'm coming at you. Now, Chase Potato is an important player to watch for, because if he is currently covering that position, then he can help out. But it doesn't look like he is. It looks like the push is going to move down on the 0 line, and that's going to be our bat chats from My Little Putin and Master Putin pressuring out Spooky. Give him a moment. There's one hit. Can he get the second? And he does. My Little Putin picking up the kill. That's 2 tier 8, Static and Spooky, down. As now Harmless is taking damage against Fulcrus. One more and he will go down.
Now, Fulcrus did lose his gunner. Actually, he still had his first aid kit, so he heals him up. Valence are not in an awful position. They're down about 1,000 HP. However, they have some pretty good position. They have their guns together. IS-4 still working towards the hill. The IS-4 of G-Force just needs to be careful he doesn't take too much damage from those bat shots.
Now we'll have to see what goes on there. Now, with Fulcrus sneaking into the backfield, he could take down Artie.
And look at this. This is where Viral and that UDIS is coming into play. These Batchats over on the 1 line are constantly being spotted. They cannot peek without taking damage.
Exactly. And so they might not even realize that's where the UDIS is. But if they've done their homework, they may have an inkling. Now, Fulcrus does go down the Batchat. Got too aggressive. TVP from Durgel. Strong response there. Credit to Dare for recognizing he's going to get into our backfield, guys. Doesn't matter if we have someone aggressor at cap. We need to watch out for that and get rid of this tank.
And
before it's
Blitzwolf
too
in that
late.
grill gets a penetrating shot onto the turret of the 113 of Burden Fungus and resets the cap.
Yep, now at the same time, G-Forcer is moving up onto the hill, and he's going to be able to pressure out Durzel. If Durzel's not able to find... Oh, and at the same time, looks like the grill is able to take down Master Putin. Durzel finally taking a hit, recognizes there's an IS-4 on the hill. We have to do something about this. Now, Artie's going to be zooming in at the same time. So we're going to see if Chase Potato is going to be able to get a shot on target, as he is looking to back up his buddy
And
G.
another shot from Blitzwolf onto that 113. He's doing work here, and now Durzel just outrunning G-Forcer, playing Ring Around the Rosie. And G-Forcer, if you just notice, he just backed off because he realized, look, they're probably baiting me into artillery right now. He's going to be loaded at this point if he was counting the reload there and just not chasing him, which is the smart play, showing the prowess that G-Forcer has as a heavy tank player.
Exactly, and you can see he knows the exact angle, how to stay safe. He's just far enough out that he's got a strong angle, but taking a lot of damage. Master Putin also going down in the southwest. That's from Zone Delta. So as Dare is focusing on the middle, even the Artie in that position, they do take down G-Forcer, but there was some time killed. Also, some crucial bat chats were taken out of the battle. So what do you think about this past about minute and a half of the battle, where we saw that original push from Dare in the southwest kind of sputter out? And
well,
then
it comes down to that UDIS, because previously tanks have peaked down there on that 0 line, or on the 1 line, excuse me, because they've been unspotted. So they can back out, they have a slight gap where they're not spotted, and they can get shots off and then go back down. And they rely on being unspotted when they make that peak at that moment as a way to get damage off. And what happened was, because Viral was sitting there in this bush that they still don't know he was there, he's just been able to keep them lit, and then Blitzwolf has done an insane amount of damage. If you're one of the few people that picked Blitzwolf, you are going to just be in love this game, because that's gonna. He's at least 3,000 damage at this point.
He's an excellent player. He just doesn't often get to put up the points that you want to see. That's the thing about this, is like there's tons of great players running around. The problem is figuring out which one of them is going to be put in the position to deal the damage and which one of them is put in the position to die quickly. And you see that kind of fall into a pattern after a while. But some of these teams, it can be a little hard to tell, especially when you throw like Viral, who is a decent damage dealer in one battle, into a tank which almost sits completely passive another.
And they've moved Viral over to get eyes down the 1 line, and I like this. Not revealing the position he's in, not leaving him there the whole game. Now, early on, they didn't have him fire even when the bat jets were over there. They made sure he stayed unspotted, and what this did is this kind of tricked Dare Rising into going, yeah, they have nothing there. What's spotting us? Well, they had these 2 bat jets there, and they left, so we can't figure it out. And they still, I don't think, figured out where that UDIS was at all. And now they've moved him out of the position, so they're not going to reveal their secrets. I'm sure they'll go back and watch the VODs for the match, and they'll figure it out then. They'll be kicking themselves. But for now, they don't know where he is. Now he's pushing down the 1 line, and it looks like he's going to have a clean line onto the artillery of Chase.
Yeah, and this is something maybe to criticize Dare about is should they have moved Chase Potato from his northwest position into the northeast so that he's protected by the other Dare tanks, or should we have seen him, maybe stay out there or find?
Well, he has stayed out there, and this is very similar to the strat that we've seen out of Apex on Cliff. What happens right now is if Dare gets this cap pressure going, which they have.
Yeah,
any tanks where they're going to get the resets onto that 1 cap, they have to go somewhere where they're not going to be already safe from Chase. And now Viral's been spotted. And now the TVP is starting to light him up from the hill. Nice. Is Viral going to get caught out? He's going to get around the corner, but now he's a one-shot. There's no question asked to splash in the same postcode as Viral. We'll take him down from that artillery.
And that's the important part, because the Lorraine doesn't have very much splash. And he does need to get that. But look at the middle of the map. We have Blitzwolf moving up. Durzel, it doesn't matter that he just got the damage out that he did. He's going to have to get out of this position, back off, and try and live. Or maybe he can play this smart. Maybe he can stay up here. Maybe he can force...
Blitzwolf has 1 shot at this. Blitzwolf has to make this shot count. The second he fires and misses, he's almost dead. Now, he does have full HP, and the TVP can't clip him.
But Durzel, let's be careful, because he flips himself on his side. And that's going to hurt.
That's a tank down. Now the cap is at 10 seconds. The TVP needs to find a reset.
That hurts.
He gets him down. The reset, though, Zone needs to find it. He gets 1 reset. 5 seconds. Is Blitz going to be loaded in time?
He needs to get a kill shot. He has to get the kill
2
shot.
2 seconds. 1 second. He needs to fire. He gets it. Not in time. Not in time. And that's going to be a win for Dare Rising.
Ooh, that was close for Dare. They definitely... went to the very limit of that strategy there. So we had the Lorraine at the last moment. He didn't get the kill in the end, did he? We had the UDES alive. Yeah, Viral barely living at the end of that. pressuring, I guess, the Lorraine 155 to no longer support the rest of his team. I guess that matters to a degree.
I think the one decision I was not a fan of there was Blitzwolf going over onto that TVP at the end there. TVP was on his side. He wasn't getting out of there. If Blitz had stayed up on the hill and just gone over and gotten the reset, he had all his HP.
Yeah,
he could take the shots. Zone Delta was a 2-shotter.
Yeah, and on top of that, he accidentally flipped himself on his side. So he got greedy. I think that was what we can say about Blitzwolf.
Well, about Blitzwolf. No,
it's hard to resist. Look at this, dude. He rolls over on his side.
That's Durzel, though. It's Durzel that flips on his side.
Yeah, Durzel does, but Blitzwolf should have. You were saying Blitzwolf should have gone down the hill after
Yeah,
it.
he should have stayed up there and gone and got the reset from up top instead of taking the shot right here. Because that shot made Zone Delta have to get the reset. And on top of that, the second that Zone Delta went down, he still had like a 15-second reload. So it had to be Zone Delta that got one reset, and then he had to reload. And because Zone Delta didn't hit the main tank on cap, it didn't buy a big enough reset to give Blitzwolf the time to work.
Just the tiniest little things. And then even looking at that first page, Blitzwolf still putting up so much damage. He put up 5,101 in that battle.
And now I'm going to take a look real quick. Viral did 3,700 assistance damage in the UDES.
Okay. I'm down with that. The UDES is a solid tank.
It's a solid passive tank.
Yeah, it's like, have you played it much at all? Yes,
I have.
Okay, it's tricky. Once you get used to the way that those little tanks
play. The siege mode especially, because unlike the 9 and 10 on the line, the gun actually can move up and down on its own. Plus, then you can manually raise and lower the back of the tank to get different angles. So it can be a little bit tricky to play, but once again, in those positions, he got it up so just the back of his tank was sticking over, just enough to get the lights, not enough to really get spotted. Great camo value, because that's the main thing I think excels at, is not being spotted, being sneaky, and being able to get those shots off. And on top of it, they put him in a position which I don't think I've ever seen before, and Dare Rising had no idea that there was even a tank there spotting him.
Yeah, I've seen that positions like that played before in the past, but usually with a light tank, of course. You know, a more, I guess you could say, vanilla time, where everything was like more straightforward in that sense. Put the light tanks in the bush, and they'll spot things. Now, when you're in this scenario where you have to decide, I'm going to put a tank in the far back of the map, where he may or may not come into play depending on my opponent's strategy. So it's a bit of a risk to put the UDES there.
But I like the timing that Valence used with it, though. They said, all right, our bad chats are going to go out here, but we're going to leave him there, and we're just going to make them have that false sense of security. They're not going to have him out here where they have their own tanks.
Yeah, but you ended up losing. You lost like 2 bat chats, and he wasn't able to spot anything to prevent that from occurring. When Valence's bat chats decided we're going to go to... No, sorry, not Valence. When Dare's bat chats decide we're going to go to the southwest, and it doesn't work out, then...
Well, we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Going over the lineups real quick. 113, 3 bat chats, 2 TVPs, and Lorraine 155 for Valence. Over on Dare Rising, 2 bat chats, 2 TVPs, a 183, an E75, and a T54E1?
E75? Okay, so...
German heavy tank, tier 9, good armor, good gun, great brawling tank, kind of soft.
Good handling, actually. You could say that. As far as like a heavy tank that does what you want it to do. If you get my drift, like a tank that I drive it goes as fast as I need it to. I'm not really feeling like I'm being sluggish. I fire quickly enough and with enough damage that I feel like I hit hard.
It's a good enough tier 9 that it can hold up versus 10s. I've seen clans that are still learning, that are still developing, when they have players that don't have tier 10s that are working on this. I've seen them bring E75s, and they can hold their own against tier 10. So it's not an awful pick, but something that we don't see a whole lot. And they're going to use him remember how I mentioned they brought the IS-3 and they brought him out to be a tank that's going to be very hard to kill and get the lights on that zero line climb?
Oh, you know why
They've brought an E75 instead.
And the E75 is a higher platform. The turret is higher up than an IS-3 or an IS-7. So that's what you're doing this for. And the spotting. The commander's cupola is higher. So you have every reason to bring the E75, to spot when you're in a low ground. Because what happens is that E75, I'll jump over to it, chase potato. I'm going to go ahead and show you. He's higher up, so he's able to spot a little bit higher, farther back into the northeast, because the ground in the northeast is elevated more.
And then look at this. Then he's spotting for this behemoth right here, the 183. We talked about this strat the other day. The 183 has a shot onto Viral if he gets up past that first little rock, and that's all Chase is there to do, is spot him. So then when he sticks his head out, there's a Hess shell waiting for him from My Little Putin.
And little does he know, Viral's waiting, watching, and looking. He almost finds the shot, but I think he decides I might want to back off first. Although maybe he's distracted, because for a moment it looked like Viral wasn't looking at anything at all. which kind of tells me that maybe there was a little chatter going on. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes for Valence. We'll have to see if they're able to pull out some kind of strat soon, because you see even now my little Putin is...
He's constantly getting spotted, and he's zooming in and out. He kind of knows that someone's staring at him, but he can't figure out where. He's not spotting Viral right now. So I think my little Putin's just a little bit confused to where that angle's coming from.
All right, well, we'll have to see how this pans out. I want to see what Valence is talking about as we take a listen in to their comms.
That 183 has to back. That's so hard. He has to back off. I might have a shot. Nope.
He just not moved yet.
By 75.
Said you can boost. You don't have to go right there. You can go back here more, and there's actually a way to get gun elevation. It's kind of hard to get up there though.
Yep, I'm going back.
Did you hit him?
Not yet. I haven't shot yet at him.
Start working.
Yeah, 183 is perfectly safe.
All right, could we shove actually both TVPs and a bat here and just clip this guy out?
You can try.
Because they're going to have a guy at this rock.
No, we got it. We can just let Fulker stay.
He's moving forward a little bit.
He's perfectly safe now. He's perfectly safe now. I can hit the E75, but not the 183 now.
Let's just do that. Let's just Viral. Can you get out or no?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay, that's what we're going to do.
Static was spotted up here too.
Just stay low, Viral, or stop if you need to. It's really annoying if you stop. Yes, Static, I'm telling. Well, it's okay. There's a spot back there. You can do it.
I couldn't climb that high. Well,
you have to kind of go this way.
Okay, you guys get safe and just come over to us.
Artie's going to reposition because I feel like they're going to push.
What's up, bud? What do you want me? Hill?
No, you're going to wait. It's going to be all four of us are coming right here.
Okay. They relay me crossing through.
All right, so just to get delit against the hill, both of you, Static and stuff. Spooky, you're going to play aggressive and you're just going to get shots on anything that wants to shoot us. Okay, same with G.
Okay. Yep.
We're literally just pushing here, getting shots here.
Just be aware of this bat here.
All right, Sex rotating middle now.
Yeah, we just got to make that like the only play I see.
There's nothing boosted here, or else he'll be trying to shoot me, I think.
So Lost, if you can look for, okay, wait for my.
I already fell off.
Wait
sure you can do this.
My bats, come on my side, please. Once I get Static gets here, Lorraine.
So you can see Valence formulating a game plan right now. They have an idea what they want to do, and they're stacking up, and it looks like they're just going to be pushing up and over straight down the middle.
Bold play, risky, yes, but we've seen this work before. If your opponent's not ready for it, you find the right angles, you get up against the correct terrain. You can make it so your opponents to the southwest, those bat chats, don't have angles. You can make it so the bat chats will not be able to support. TVPs may have some trouble, and if you can get the kill on my little Putin quickly enough, it can pay off. If
but
not,
they need to do it before he snaps the shot off, because these TVPs are softly armored.
Yes, they are, and that's going to be Zone Delta, the first tank to go down. My little Putin's still alive.
They still haven't found the kill on my little Putin, which is the whole point of this strat, so you have to question the decision here.
The play's not working out. It is not panning out right now for Valence. Dare has too strong of a position. It's very difficult to attack, and on top of that, their defense, their hold on this is quite strong. It's not the kind of thing that should pan out for Valence, and they took a risk. It's not playing out. It's a bold strategy. Chances of working are rather low, you know? And
I guess you can say that didn't pay off.
It just didn't really pay off. That's all it is. So Valence is going to have to pull back. They've still got 6,000 something.
And now Viral is just going to commit in on to chase Potato, but he's taking a lot of damage from the TVP in the base.
That's I think this is an ill-advised move. I don't know why we're seeing it, but it's happened.
I think that was a desperation attempt. That was a, hey, we just did this, so we need to do something and do it quickly before they have time to react.
No. Here. I've got a rationalization for you. Take this. Viral was trying to get behind the rock where he's currently dead. He instead ends up engaging against Aggressor and Chase in the E75 because he's trying to avoid getting into range of My Little Putin. He sticks too far to the left, assuming My Little Putin's got the angle, and then because of that, he's choosing between, which one.
And I understand that. I'm not faulting that play at all.
Yeah.
That decision making, that's fine. The decision making is to make that push at all and to even try to get up towards that rock.
I agree.
It was so quickly from that first push, they said, all right, look, this first push didn't work out, And so I think it was Valence saying, all right, so we need to make our second play happen before they have time to reset and hope that they're not comfortable. The problem was that Dare Rising were very quick on it. They got their guns back into position. Aggressor turnaround was covering Chase Potato, and that's when Viral got cut out. Once he made that push, I completely agree. That's the smart choice. Take the TVP and the E75 over the 183, because that 183 can end you in one shot. It's the right choice to make in that situation, but I'm questioning whether or not that push should have been made to begin with.
I think that's an appropriate thing to question. Now, Fulcrus, oh no, this is not good. Fulcrus is spotted in the northeast. That was the Lorraine transitioning off to that into the northeast. It's a lot safer. Valence can protect him, but he got spotted. That's huge. I don't know. It has to be, I guess, by our E75 Chase Potato, but that's not what you want. You do not need that happening to you in the Lorraine because, well, this tank is probably most of Valence's hope to win on attack here. If he can get the right hits, he can get the kills. You can see that zooming in over the shoulder of our 113s. That's how Chase Potato is currently spotted. Little tiny bit of the back of his tank. And G-Forcer's going to get off the hill. Fulcrus aiming, looking at the TVP position.
G-Forcer's just going to push around the 183. The Hesh Shell fired does not pen for 900. But now G-Forcer's going to take a brunt of the TVP damage. Actually, they're going to ignore G-Forcer, and they're going to shoot it static. And it's going to be Burden Fungus that picks them off.
Nice play, getting the Bat Chat, taking out all the burst damage, knowing what's going on.
Good shot prioritization.
Exactly, got to respect it. So right there, Dare knows what to do to defend. Valence is having a lot of trouble because, well, Dare's just on top of it. They're just one step ahead. They know exactly how to respond, and I got to give it to them. These are the focus fires on point, the target prioritization, the responses, and it's just solid play from Dare.
And you got to look at it. The position that they were in, it was the right call because that 183, if he goes down, it's the 183 down, but it still has Valence out in the middle of nowhere with no cover. The E75 was the only tank out there shutting down that 9 line, so they needed to make sure they kept him alive and kept Valence boxed in against that hill.
And there you go. Spooky. Lost, go down. Fulcrus, the last tank alive in the Lorraine, tries to play it hero mode. Goes for the hero shot and gets it on Harmless. All right, I'll give him that. Come on, guys. TD mode's funny. And now we've got the MVP flip from Master Putin. I love it. That's a win in style.
That's going on the highlight reel.
Oh, yeah. Keeping that one for later. And that's going to be, what is it now? 4-2, right?
Yep, and that's going to be a 0-2 loss, essentially, for Valence on Mines, which is something I kind of worried about beforehand.
Yeah, and now we're going to see how that one pans out, because this has been an unexpected series. Ruinberg, 2 right in favor of Dare, and then after that you get 2 in favor of Valence on Himmelsdorf. Bit surprised by that one. I really expected more from Dare. Valence, though, did play well. And from this last bit on Mines, I felt like Valence played risky. I felt like they were aggressive. It felt appropriate, but sometimes it's not always how it feels. Sometimes it needs to be a little more calculated, is what I'm saying.
It felt like a strat from a team that's 0-2 on Mines attack. It felt like a team that's still struggling for ideas.
Yeah, but that flip at the end, I gotta say, that's
style.
That's style right there.
And
a 10 out of 10.
Aggressor and Burden in the Burden Fungus, formerly known as Bird Thief in the TVP, both doing decent damage there in the TVP. G-Forcer not really able to get involved in the heavy tank once again. Milo Putin in the 183 only having the one shot onto G-Forcer for 900, the non-pen onto the front plate. And then Viral and Zone Delta not really able to be in the fight at all.
All right, so now I'm being told we have the update from your non-broadcasted match. That's from Top Tier versus Eclipse. It's currently at a scoreline of 3-2. Rox, let's go ahead and check out some of that replay when we get a chance, because Eclipse versus Top Tier is expected to go in the favor of Eclipse normally. But Eclipse has been struggling lately, promising major changes to the way that they operate in order to kind of catch up. But currently, as you see in the replays, it is a 3-1. This is going to be an Eclipse win on Prokhorovka.
Yep, and that's going to be, look at the thing on the right there. That's going to be Tigers stepping back into the lineup for Eclipse.
So maybe he needs to just get back into the groove, make some calls for Eclipse one more match, see if they come out ahead. It's not over yet. We'll be sure to bring you those updates more later on. And, of course, you can go to WGLeague.net to get updates on those scores. We'll be, of course, having the VODs here and on YouTube afterwards if you need to check those out.
Yep, definitely. And one thing to keep in mind there, just about Eclipse, Tigers was the caller when Eclipse won the title originally 2 seasons ago. He was the main caller through that whole season. They went in 4th. They upset everyone in the live finals, and then they went to Poland. They struggled a little bit in Poland, and I think that's what led to the changes during the next season where they brought in Wallhacks and Ox Mathis. They let Wallhacks take over the calling, and Tiger step back.
Yeah, because Wallhacks comes in with a ton of experience. He knows how to behave in a live environment. And when you're coming into a live environment for maybe the first, second time, it's still pretty intimidating. So maybe that's what the thoughts off of that, but then we see that change. We see Wallhacks go away from Eclipse. No, now Tiger's...
He's given the opportunity to shine again.
Yeah,
but he's basically at this point, Eclipse, they tried doing it without him. They tried using, I think it was Dark God Zim to kind of flank call and use a community effort, and they realized, look, guys, this isn't working. We're 5 days in. We're sitting down in 6th place right now. We need to change something. Tiger's still on the bench. Let's bring him back in.
Yeah, and you know what? He got them as far as they went last time. Might as well go for it again. If it doesn't work out as well in a live event, maybe just put more practice into preparing for a live environment.
I think the gamble is worth taking considering how they were doing before is also my point.
I think I tend to agree. That one's definitely the point that's hard to argue with.
All right, well, we are ready for our 4th map of the evening.
Prokhorovka, one of the first maps in the game. Teams start at the regular spawn points as they do in standard battles. Bases are separated from each other by the railway, so the defending team has to choose whether to send their vehicles to the left side, playing them in the centre, or to the right of the railway, occupying the hill and a part of the village. The attacking team usually attacks the first base. However, the teams often go for face-to-face confrontations, 7-on-7, in the hilly terrain at the centre. That's why both teams frequently use vehicles with good gun depression angles and sturdy turrets.
Here we go into battle number 7. Valence coming out with an IS-7, 3 bat shots, an Object 430, a Grill 15, and an M4043. Meanwhile, Dare Rising, an IS-7, 3 bat jets, an STV, an STRV 103B, and an RU-251.
All right, so what are we seeing out of this opening strat? Because Valence does not have a light tier 8 scout.
But they do have that M4043, and they have 3 bat jets, so it's going to be reliant upon those bat shots to get the eyes for their artillery and let the artillery get those shots in and try to help out that way. The other thing to look at here is that Object 430 has a really good camo value, the best camo value of any of the Russian mediums. So we may also see him used in some sort of passive capability.
And actually, you may have a point there as I'm looking at his equipment, and he does have coated optics, meaning passive positions are a completely viable option. And especially in a Russian medium tank, getting coated optics is important to being a capable spotting tank.
Yep.
Otherwise, you definitely are just below that threshold.
Yep. To go over equipment real quick for those that are either still new into the game or always have questions about it, typically the rule of thumb is this. If a tank has vertical stabilizer, you do that first, no matter what. If it has a vert stab, do it. A few exceptions, but for the most part, this is a good rule of thumb.
You can see that proven with G-Forcer and Spooky.
Yep. Then second, a gun rammer. Does a tank have a gun lane drive? If so, do that. And then the third skill is where you have some variants, or third equipment slot. In this case, we see coated optics. We also commonly see vents, and in some cases, a gun lane drive.
Absolutely. And we see great spotting out of Chase Potato. Early position able to spot out Blitzwolf in the back and Spooky. Shots fired at him, taking about 432. One of those from G-Forcer. Seeing if we're going to get any follow-up damage. But Viral? Why is he there?
Can't tell if it's a DC or...
No, that's got to be... There's no way. There's no reason for Viral to be in the middle of the opponent's side of the map.
Now, thinking about it, if it wasn't a DC, pushing an IS-7 into that 5 line when the other team doesn't have heavy tanks and taking control of it, getting into the low ground, and being somewhere where the rest of the team cover you, it's actually a pretty smart play because they can force you back into that gun and into the other guns with cap pressure. However... I think what happened is he likely was a DC either while he was making that approach or getting to the middle. He drove up and over into the other guns. Or it was the play he intended. He got tracked and he just gave up and pointed his gun at the air, realizing he wasn't going to do anything from that point. I can't tell.
I'm guessing it's a DC. I'd want to put money on that one because it doesn't make sense. Dare understands this as well, I think. And so they're probably going to just pressure this as we see all of the tanks from Dare moving up and over towards the middle. Valence with a DC like that on on match point have probably just about been as crushed as they can. That is a horrible thing to happen on what could be the final battle of the series. So right now, Dare has every reason to win. Just don't throw it away. There are enough tier 10s on the battlefield that if you don't play it right, Valence can still win this. However, Valence is in a horrible position. They need that IS-7, and, well, losing Chase Potato in the RU-251 he was able to deal plenty of damage before he went down.
Yep, I did just get confirmation that it was a disconnect from Valence and Viral, so no sort of amazing superstar play there out of Viral trying to make some really bold play that we haven't seen before, just to disconnect and went up and over.
Yep, and that's the unfortunate part, because disconnects, once a tank is spotted, any damage is dealt, no more disconnects, game has to continue on. So, really unfortunate for Valence. They played exceptionally well against a team like Dare, second in the league right now. There goes Fulcrus, that's one more tank to bite the dust. And now we see an up and over, a little bit of a switch hit from Valence. They're going to try and say, hey, you guys were going to push the east. Maybe we push the east at the right moment. Find Master Putin, get a few kills.
At this point, Valence know, look, we already lost the tier 10 for free. We have to make some sort of play. This is our opportunity, so they're just going to try to go up and over, find Mactep.
And they do get a aggressor. Yeah. And this is one way that I've seen teams of, usually not at this level of play, but I have seen teams kind of come back at times in matches by playing that wolf pack, where you just roam around with some bat chats and use your mobility and try and strike in unexpected areas.
In a situation where you're down, once you lose tanks, the best way you can try to pull things back. Remember, you're already down, so you're not in a good position. But one of the things that a lot of teams try to do to pull things back is, let's just get up and go. Let's cause the fight and hope that we have an isolation. Let's hope that there are guns out of the fight. And that's exactly what Valence did. They went up and over it. They hoped they could find a couple tanks while the other ones couldn't get the shots. The problem was Aggressor was sitting there in that S tank. The IS-7 in the middle had shots, and it was just too much. So I don't really fault them for making the push. I think that this game was really lost when that disconnect happened, which unfortunately was after tanks had spotted and damage had been done, so there was no way to reset it for Valence. And that is going to make it a 5-2 win for Dare Rising, the newest sponsorship joining the WGLNA.
Yeah, great way to start the day for them. They come on in, new sponsor, get the win, 5-2, very respectable. Valence shows up, and I have to give them a nod because, well, against a team like Dare, as a new team in the league, not expected to perform nearly as well, they managed to put 2 on the board. And especially to note, that's 2 on Himmelsdorf. So that's not wins on defense that are gimmies. They dominated a map over this team.
Yep. And confirming here, both the teams kind of saying, wow, DC, it's kind of unfortunate, but that's how a team wins. So unlucky. Now, if Viral had stayed alive in the middle there, it would have been kind of tricky to see how that played out depending on the positions, because Viral was still over towards the 5-6. The tanks were moving towards that one line. I still think Dare Rising would have been able to clean that up. I'm not really a big fan of that west cap attack.
Yeah.
Or east cap attack, sorry.
East cap attack, it's a 50-50. It's a coin flip when you go for it. Proc is very much like that as well. Because of the way spotting works, unlike Himmelsdorf, you find a tank and you can back around a corner. Proc, if you're caught out in the open, it's over. You're done. And looking at the post-battle stats, there it is. Solid damage put up from 5 members of Dare Rising. Valence, G-Forcer, and Zone Delta did the best they could, but it's no hope there, unfortunately.
Yep, it would have been fascinating to see if that was intended play, and Viral had just swerved off to the right, gotten into the low ground with the guns covering them, and then they went for the cap. That could have been interesting to see if they could have pulled that off, because it would have been one way to slow them down from getting that reset. Instead of letting them get up against that train track, you have control of it. I could see that working in a way.
Up and over strats do have some viability. They have to come out at very specific times and against opponents that you know are going to pull out certain strats, right?
Yeah.
So this situation probably not appropriate because it's against Dare Rising, and their strategies generally account for that.
Well, it's not so much the up and over that like they're looking for the engagement. It's getting the tank into that low ground, because what it does is it stops it stops Dare Rising from getting in positions to get those easy resets.
Yeah.
Which that's the biggest problem with attacking that east cap is once they get up against those train tracks, there's so many angles that they can find now, especially with the Swedish heavy tanks. They can really work those angles.
The easiest place to set the line, to draw the line between you and your opponent, does not appropriately protect the cap.
Exactly. So maybe pushing that back and the I-7 in there, maybe some teams need to look at that.
Yeah, maybe actually using some cover more appropriately might help here and there, because we see a lot of the time when a team doesn't bring artillery, you can put a tank on cap.
The other thing I'm surprised...
And usually it's not protected by anything.
The other thing I'm surprised we haven't seen is tanks bringing something like a CDC or some large tank, getting it towards that cap and using that to screen from the train tracks, because that would make that cap circle a bit more viable if they can find a way to prevent that tank from being reset, which so often happens.
Yeah, although a lot of the time when you put 2 tanks on cap, you're taking tanks away from crucial parts of the flank that your opponent can say, oh, the south or the north is weak. We can just push up and over. And there's not a whole lot you can do about that, especially
it would certainly be tricky to balance. I see your point.
Yeah, it's very difficult. So that's all that I think we can really kind of just theory craft about this one. But at the end, it was great for Dare Rising, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, it was a very good performance by them. They definitely need to go back and revisit Himmelsdorf a little bit because Valence had their number on that. But on the other maps, Ruinberg especially, they managed to win an attack on Ruinberg. Maybe Valence misplayed a little bit. They got lucky with catching the tier 8 out. So good stuff there. But Himmelsdorf, I think, was the down spot.
We actually have a winner's interview. So
Nice.
we're actually going to be getting Change back on. So welcome back, sir. Tell us about that win. I see you've decided to put another shirt on. Got a little cold out there.
Yeah, it's cold.
All right, so talk to us about that match. You guys went... sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was a good start. The new name, so...
Yeah, Ruinberg was 2 wins in a row, but Himmelsdorf, what was up with that? You guys looked like you should have been able to win in some cases, but there were slight choices that I don't want to say for or against, but what happened to Himmelsdorf?
I don't know. Himmelsdorf seems like a map we try to do a little too much on sometimes. Like, bringing 2 183s can, it's a high risk, high reward. And it just hasn't been working out for us. So
it seemed like the way you guys were playing with the 183s, it seemed very much like you were expecting one angle and then finding out your opponent showed up on the other, and so you guys were just a hair's breadth away from that choice that would have worked out for you. Do you think it came down to the 183s, or what else was at play on Himmelsdorf? Do you think that you guys need to work on going forward?
Well, I wasn't in the battle, so I don't know exactly what happened, but probably something to do with communication, because I think we got out-rotated, and so that's usually a communication error.
So usually that's kind of the biggest thing that gets in the way of your team. We've listened to your comms before, and they do sound a bit off-color, very different from what we're used to hearing, but that does seem like it's very much your team.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. One of the matches you heard both Putin speaking in Russian, and so sometimes that's just
just the way it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we let you go, Change, do you have any words for any of your fans out there?
Nope. Just visit the Dare website. Support us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to this for this post-game interview, Change. We'll see you again probably later this week.
All right.
Thanks.